Hey, it's Mike Cambrough with FlipNerd.com. Welcome back for another exciting VIP interview where I interview some of the most successful people in real estate investing and entrepreneurs in our industry to help you learn and grow. Today, I'm joined by Mike Loughrey, who is a veteran real estate investor that's going to talk to us about scraping lots and building new. Now, Mike's got a ton of experience. He's done a ton of deals and previously was a large rehabber, a large turnkey operator, and now he's found out that he can make the most money by kind of scraping lots and maybe putting more houses on a lot. It's really interesting. It's an intriguing lesson, and it's an interesting story to hear how he got there. So before we get started, though, let's take a moment to recognize our featured sponsors. RealtyMogul.com is an online marketplace for real estate investing, connecting borrowers and capital from accredited and institutional investors. Get a rehab loan fast and close in as little as 10 days. Rates start as low as 9%. We'd also like to thank National Real Estate Insurance Group, the nation's leading provider of insurance to the residential real estate investor market. From individual properties to large-scale investors, National Real Estate Insurance Group is ready to serve you. Please note, the views and opinions expressed by the individuals in this program do not necessarily reflect those of FlipNerd.com or any of its partners, advertisers, or affiliates. Please consult professionals before making any investment or tax decisions, as real estate investing can be risky. Hey, Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, good to see you again. So for those of you that, some of you know that I'm in a group that Jason Medley has called Collective Genius, which is where Mike and I first met because Mike's also a member there. So kind of a powerhouse group that we're both excited to be a part of. So, hey, Mike, but tell us about your background, how you got started in real estate investing. I know you've evolved a number of different times, but how did you get started?
Yeah. So I started back in like 1997 as a loan officer, kind of a small beach town boy, moved to the city, became a loan officer, and did really well, very lucrative business, and then did a really good job in the BC market, the subprime market, and I had repeat clients that came back every 6 months. They came back and they were back in foreclosure again, and it just amazed me how here in Arizona in the Phoenix market, the appraisal always supported the refinance. I said, wow, the property values are going up so much that they're able to refinance, put all their back payments and the closing costs back into the loan and refinance, and they're back safe again, and they never make a payment. So I got to the point where I said, well, if I'm doing this for this large volume of clients who are coming to me, why wouldn't I just buy houses for myself? Because I see how much profit is in these deals if these people had just paid their payments, right, and didn't lapse on the mortgage. So in 2002, I started buying. I bought my first property from one of my clients. I said, "Listen, why don't I just give you, $10,000 and just have you walk away from the property?" And that was my first deal. And from there, I rehabbed that property and flipped it and sold it, and then realized that here in Maricopa County in Arizona, we have an auction that goes 5 days a week. Yep. So 5 days a week at the courthouse steps, they're selling properties for people who are being foreclosed on. I think it's such a high volume because of the large turnover and the melting pot of people we have here in Phoenix. Pretty much the majority of the people have moved from somewhere else and are either going through adversity and moving back out again. But so that was my start was in 2002, and a lot of times what I was doing, I was buying properties, flipping them to other clients I had who wanted to buy houses. So I kind of had a good volume of people looking to always come through and refinance, and realtors, working with realtors. Yeah. And I was really just starting to buy them homes.
So these are like owner occupants that came to you and said, hey, I want to buy a house. I need to get financing. And you said, well, I happen to have a house you might be interested in.
Absolutely. Yeah. What happened is actually I reached out to the realtors and said, listen, I'm actually have quite a bit of homes and access to a lot of homes that I can help your buyers find exactly what they're looking for. And we can put them into a house that's fully rehabbed. We have fixer-uppers for them. And then I was doing the financing for them. So it was really a great mix for a long time. And up till about 2005, that was very successful in doing that. So from like 2002 to 2005, we're doing about 4 houses a month, just selling to either some retail buyers, but mostly just clients I had for the mortgage side of business. Yep. So then we hit the peak in the market where things were really good. the market was amazing. Everyone was making returns, hand over fist. The returns were exponential. And actually, I kind of pulled back the reins through that time period, and then re-engaged again after the market had already started to fall. So really, 05, 06, I just really focused on mortgage lending. We were so busy then, just really took advantage of that. I didn't like how fast the market was going. It was moving way too fast for me.
Yeah.
No big comfort level. Once the prices started to fall in 07, started to have some difficulties, kind of started to re-engage, look back at the market a little bit, and had bought quite a bit in 07 that really didn't make a lot of sense because the market was still falling. So kind of really laid low, got rid of the properties, had some difficulties with those properties, and again in 09, revisited the market and said, wow, where's the value in the market at this point? The properties were so cheap here in Phoenix. I think we were one of the first to really fall and hit the bottom because of how fast our judicial process is here.
Yeah.
We have a 90-day notice of default, so within 90 days, you could actually be in foreclosure and being foreclosed on. So at this point, I looked at the market and said, how can I add some value here? And at the time, the mortgage business was still busy, still kind of had my hand in it, but looked and said, how can I bring some value to our market? And I thought the value is going into these foreclosed properties, buying the property, fixing the property up, and putting a renter in there, a good, solid tenant that I can then pass along to other investors across the country and across the world. We started doing some marketing, a lot of marketing in California, where the values were still very high, the home prices. And then we also reached out to Australia, some Chinese, and the Israeli market. So those three international markets we hit, and we're basically selling properties at a net cap of 10%.
Okay, and these are primarily just turnkey rental properties.
Those all turnkey rental properties, which ended up working really well for us. So it was actually myself, and I brought on a partner in 09 and said, let's this is what I see in the market. Let's give it a shot and see if it works. And it worked very well for us because at the time it was very safe because we had a tenant in the property who was really servicing any sort of debt we had on the property.
Yeah.
So it was a very safe market, a very safe way for us to grow our business. The market rapidly, regains its pace, and before you know it, we actually were into a healthier market of just regular flips.
Yeah.
Those lower end properties we were no longer able to buy. So at the end of 2010, moving into 2011, it was really just a flipper's market. Going in, doing carpet, paint, tile, doing some new backsplashes on the kitchen, your granite countertops, and then selling those properties for a great profit.
Yep.
So really healthy flippers market throughout 2012. Once we hit 2012, our numbers had we had doubled the numbers we were at. The same house sold for twice as much as we were buying it for in 2010.
Wow.
So with that, we kind of actually left the Phoenix market and said, let's go to. We were still buying some homes here. Kind of cherry picking, if you would say, or the name of our business is Cherry Pick Investments.
Yep.
We cherry picked the good deals here, and we moved off to Orlando, Florida, Charlotte, North Carolina, to do a turnkey model there as well. And really, we're just trying to supply the market demand. We had a lot of market demand for the turnkey products we offered, and so we kind of went to those markets to kind of service that. We were still doing business here in Phoenix throughout that time period, and really, up to the beginning of this year, 2014, we actually decided to cut off the business in North Carolina and in Florida, and to actually resume business here in Phoenix.
Okay.
And so we really got to this point where we said, wow, we've evolved so much.
Yeah.
From your turnkey guys. Now we're doing normal fix and flips, little bigger fix and flips, and now we, in 2013, beginning of 2014, we're actually doing full blown rehab. We're adding additions. We're doing new truss work. We're doing knocking down walls, really reconfiguring the homes.
Yeah.
Until we got to our first house that we basically over improved. Did a great job. That the house sold in the first hour it was on the market. We bought it for about 200, put $150,000 into it. So we're about 350 into this house plus our closing costs and our holding costs. And we had to put it on the market for 450 and have buyers lined up. We had 2 backup offers. People wanted the product. It was a really cool, funky, modern product. But then we got to the appraisal stage, and we couldn't get an appraisal for higher than 375, which put us at pretty much a break even or a loss.
Yeah.
Through extension of 3 buyers and 3 different appraisals, and we just realized, wow, we're just really over improving the market. And there's such a demand for it, but we still have the appraisal issues that we're dealing with.
Yeah. Plus appraisals, I know appraisals in Phoenix have been a little more strenuous anyway, just because the market's been so volatile that appraisers are a little more skeptical. But
absolutely.
Hey, Mike, before you start to tell us about some of the stuff that you're doing now, I think some of the stuff that you just, folks, I just want to kind of recap what you did. I mean, you've evolved quite a bit. You saw new opportunities and went into new markets or changed exit strategies. And I think that for folks that have listened to me for any period of time at all, they know the importance of being flexible and changing and ebbing and flowing with the market and looking around the corner. And I think for a lot of people that have been investing in markets like Phoenix or Las Vegas for a long time, you kind of learned the hard way that you had to evolve, right? But I think it's really important for people to kind of understand that lesson is to don't be so tied to one exit strategy or one way of doing business that you're not going to be able to adapt when the market changes, because the market is going to change no matter where you're at.
Absolutely. You're 100% correct in that. Every time we look at a home, we have at least, at a minimum, 2 exit strategies. If we don't, we won't buy the home. So we always have at least 2, and we like to have 3 exit strategies. How are we going to back out of this property if something were to go wrong?
Yeah.
And we've learned that because of obviously after the crash of the market, you really have to be creative in how to get rid of some of these properties and sell the properties and market the properties. And that's really, I think, what's helped set us aside from a lot of other local investors. And it's so funny in our market. We'll look back and we'll see, on the news, they're talking about, well, the market's still, really depressed. When at the time the market was on fire, it was fueled and doing great. And we're like, wow, it's so funny that the news is portraying it to be so depressed still. And then by the time the news is saying the market's on fire, it's such a great time to flip properties, this is the time to flip, we're saying this is definitely not the time to flip.
It's overheated then, yeah.
So we're getting way saturated. Just the prices are getting driven up so high. And so it's just kind of funny where the news leads people to where the actual market is. And that's just part of keeping your finger on the pulse of your market.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
You always have to do that. And for us, we just said we can never be scared to move and change.
Yeah.
And we have to change with the market, because the market, the only constant in this business is change.
Yep.
And that's the market. We never know where the market's going to go, but we have to be able to move with the markets.
Yeah. And one of the other things I heard you say that I think is also a great lesson, and it's something that I've learned myself over the past couple of years, is that you made a couple comments about you sat on the sidelines. I think as real estate investors, it's tough because for a lot of real estate investors that have one business, like if you're a rehabber or even if you're a wholesaler and you have that one exit strategy primarily that you're using, you can never stop buying. You can never stop doing deals, because then your revenue stops. So I think it's important to have, I know you had your lending business, so you had other source of revenue there. A lot of people have rental portfolios, just something that allows you to kind of sit on the sidelines and say, something's changing here. I need to pull back for a little bit and readjust. I think that's so important to real estate investors, that to have that other source of income, to be able to pull back. I mean, if you think about it, people that invest in the stock market, that's what they do. The market gets overheated, or Apple's overheated, which is not right now, but any one stock that is buying too much, people just say, I'm gonna sit on the sidelines. I'm not gonna buy right now. I may even sell and reinvest somewhere else. And so that same mentality doesn't seem to move over to real estate investors, because they just get caught in this I can never stop buying kind of cycle,
Absolutely. And that's a great point. We actually have built a large portfolio of rental properties, rental homes here in Phoenix. And we bought them, say, at $60,000 for a rental portfolio, a house. And we get $1,000 a month rent for the property. And now the property is worth $180,000.
Yeah.
So if you're getting $1,000 a month rent for a $180,000 property, that's not a good return.
Yeah.
it is a good return if you paid $60,000 for it.
Right.
But the mentality for us is, well, if we can sell it for 180 and then reinvest that into other markets, we can probably get $3,000 a month for that same money.
Right.
And so that's been a big lesson for us to learn, because we didn't want to let go of those properties. We were so attached to it, we only paid 60 for it.
Right.
That it was kind of scary to let go of that.
Yeah.
But then we've been able to sell those properties and leverage it into markets where we're paying $25,000 and $30,000 for a home, and we're getting $700 a month rent for those properties.
Right.
And so by being able to really let go, sell the properties, and adapt to the change, it's very lucrative for us.
Yeah.
So we really, it's hard. And again, now we have, for the same money, we have 6 homes versus 1 home. And so if you look at your numbers, it's always less safer to have 6 versus 1, as far as your numbers go. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's been a huge lesson, and it's been very lucrative for us.
Yeah. So tell us a little about what you're doing now with kind of repurposing land and all sorts of stuff that I don't know anybody else that's doing. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, super exciting for us. Huge learning curve, and obviously, 2020 hindsight's always the best. We should have been doing the same thing when the market was really on fire, and we didn't. So, again, evolution of the real estate investor. But we got to the point where we had that one instance where we sold the house. We had the appraisal issues. Beautiful house, amazing home, and we did some really cool stuff. And one thing that we do, when we go into different markets, even here in Phoenix, I don't say markets in different states, but just there's different markets within your hometown, and you have definitely where you have more your younger college age clientele. You have your older clientele. You have more of your clientele that wants to have more land, more space for all their toys. We really go in and we design the houses for those specific markets and what we're going to attract in those different markets. So, for us, we like the real modern, very fun, type of homes that are really open for entertaining. It's a big market for us. So, what we did is we said most of those markets in our community they're all landlocked. There's no homes available, no land available, and we realized that we gave it a shot. We said, if we spent $150,000 to rehab this house, what's it going to cost us to build a brand new home?
Yeah.
So we went in and we did our first house. It cost us about $250,000 to build a similar home. We had that number down right now to about $202,000 to build a 2,800 square foot home with really nice finishes.
Wow.
So now we say, if we go and we buy that house for $200,000 and we scrape the house, and now we add another $200,000 to it, we're at $400,000. Where before, for a rehab product, we were at $350,000. Now we're at $400,000 for a brand new home.
Yeah.
Brand new home that now we don't have our appraisal issues. It's a brand new home. It's built 2014. And we're able to sell that home for $600,000.
Wow. And you say you don't have appraisal issues, and that's just because they're just not using the other traditional comps because of the age difference?
Yes, because the age difference. You're comparing a 1950s home to a 2014 home.
Yeah.
So the appraisers have to be more lenient on that product. There's really no comps for that product. So they have to allow, just like when you go into any new home community, you say, wow, the home starts off at $200,000. By the time you get out the door and you add your carpet, your upgraded carpet, your tile, some two-tone paint and granite, you're at $300,000. And how can they allow for those adjustments? Well, that's because it's a brand new home, and the demand creates the value there. So we've been, and we still have had some appraisal challenges, but not nearly as much as we've had with the conventional rehab homes.
Right.
So some of the fun stuff that we've learned to do is now that we've done probably about 10 of these homes this year. Now we're going in, we're saying, well, what if we buy one home, and then we go to the neighbor's house who also looks really rough, and we can buy their home. And then we'll buy the 2 houses behind it. So we're starting to do assemblies of homes. We're going in and we're assembling a new lot. So we're taking 4 old homes that we can buy, and we're scraping all 4 homes. And now we're going through and we're replatting that area for 8 new homes.
Yep.
Now we just reduced our bottom line cost. We've increased it we've reduced it by 50%. So now instead of paying $200,000 for the house, it's only costing us $100,000. plus the cost to improve that land. And with that, we're really starting to have some fun because we're building some really cool little community subdivisions within these older neighborhoods, these infill neighborhoods. And this is where we're really starting to see a huge learning curve. For someone that just goes in and we just kind of plot out the house, what do we want to do? Then we go down to Home Depot and we buy all of our goods. We go to the house, our guys rehab the house. Now we're really looking into a lot of planning. So you're looking at a lot of planning.
Sure,
it's a little longer of a process, but you're looking ahead and you're saying, well, now instead of doing one home at a time, I'm doing 8 homes all at the same location.
Yeah.
So time-wise, it takes you probably about 9 months to get all those completed versus the 1 to 2 months it would take you for the one house, but you have 8 homes to sell. And by the time you really get through half of those homes, the rest of the homes are selling very easily because people want to live in a brand new home in these older areas. These older established areas, excuse me, are really really attractive for people to live in. They're closer to all the downtown amenities, all the restaurants, all the cool places. People really want to live there. So it really, right now for Phoenix, in order to buy new, you normally have to go to the outskirts of town,
right,
buy the newer tracts of homes.
So talk about, is there more of that going on in these neighborhoods? Are there some other people that are scraping, or when you start it, does it kick off somebody else from doing it? I mean, I guess I'm curious what type of neighborhoods are these where people are effectively, they're paying probably, it sounds like nearly double per square foot what the 1950 had, the older houses in that neighborhood, just how people justify, of course it's newer, obviously, a brand new house, but talk about like the types of neighborhoods you're going into and you're able to do this.
These are some, really attractive neighborhoods. So in Phoenix, obviously we're in the desert, but in some of these neighborhoods, some of the central location areas, you have a lot of the old orchards. So they used to be, back in the day, they were old large orchards where it's very green, very lush, lots of trees, lots of grass. People want to be in those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
People move from the Midwest back east. They come here. They don't necessarily want to live in the desert.
Right.
They're they don't like all the rock grass and the cactuses in their yard. They want to have some nice trees, some nice grass, and this kind of reminds them of being back home. But yet they still get the amenities of being here in Phoenix, and of course our low cost of living. So a lot of these neighborhoods are very up and coming, very trendy neighborhoods. Lots of really cool restaurants, not your chain restaurants, or they're singly owned by either small businesses. They're the multitude of restaurants, or just onesie twosie mom and pop restaurants that are really attractive to people. People want to go. It's kind of a really cool, funky, modern. Yeah. And so these are the people that really want to live there. And the benefit is, a lot of people who have those 1950s homes, they've inherited those homes. They've lived there for ages. And so when they're coming in, they realize they can get $250,000 for a home. It's very attractive to them.
Yeah.
They've never seen those types of numbers in their community for such an old home in a long time.
So talk about also, because I talk about, usually when I buy houses, we're usually, we do marketing, we're generating leads from people that are willing to sell at a discount typically. And so that first house that we buy, probably, I assume the same for you, that's probably the deepest buy. And you probably have to pay more to get the neighbors to cooperate. Is that true, or?
Sometimes, yes. Usually the last house is the most expensive.
Yeah, I bet.
Usually you get the first one tied up at a pretty good price. We do some marketing, we do the mailers, and we do some follow-up, some telephone calls, and some some dialers, and we get that person to sell, and we get a good price on the house, and we're looking at it and we're saying, okay, well, we have that house for sure. What do we have around this house? And if we go in and tell them, listen, we have this one sold, we have, we usually can get a similar price on the first couple of homes as we're paying for the first one. It's usually that last person that maybe has rehabbed their house already, or bought it a little higher than the other ones, that the house is a little nicer. But this is the key to completing the project.
Yeah.
We can actually take that house and increase our subdivision by 3 more houses by just that one house.
Right.
So we're able to pay a little more for it, and really get to really analyze the numbers and see where you're at. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes you get rid of, you let one house out of contract and just buy 2 homes, and then you can put 3 homes in that on those 2.
Yeah.
So it just depends. You really have to look at the zoning, what your zoning requirements are. what the what the density is in the area, and see what you can put on that property.
And if you can't get any of the neighbors to cooperate, then do you just rehab that house and move it on?
Just scrape that house and build a new one.
Okay.
In some instances, we have bought houses that we bought them cheap enough, and the houses are nice enough that we just rehab the house.
Yeah.
Just back to the basics, back to just rehabbing homes and just selling them, and it makes sense for us. Just obviously, we're not into it for 200,000 plus. We're in it for a little less, so it makes sense for us to do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and back to what you said, it's important to have multiple exit strategies. So if your best case is you're going to convince a bunch of the neighbors to sell at the right price, your worst case is, well, we'll just rehab this one and move on to another neighborhood.
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And one thing we've recently done is we've gone back through a lot of the county records down at the city, and we've looked over and said, what builders had tied up properties back in the peak, 05, 06, and they kind of got these properties all set up to build one. Then the market crashed, and they weren't able to build these properties. And what do they have? They call it platted. What do they have platted out? Which means the house is already broken into lots now. So the property is broken into single family lots that you can build on, but they never had the opportunity to build these houses. Build these houses. So we're going after those sellers who still have those properties and trying to go into those areas and then build out those subdivisions.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's been a pretty good tool for us to find people that want to sell, because they were willing to sell in the peak of the market. They just never had the opportunity because the buyer never performed because the condition of the market. And so now we're going back into those neighborhoods and those buyers and talking to those sellers and talking to them as well. And we picked up a few good deals from them recently.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting stuff. So Mike, tell us a little bit about what kind of advice you would give to people to basically kind of have their ear to the ground and be thinking about how to evolve and how to find opportunities. Some of the most successful real estate investors, on one hand, you could say they're always looking around the corner to see what's next. But on the other hand, you could say they have their nose to the grindstone and they're just, totally focused on right now and making the opportunity they have, as fruitful as possible. But just talk about, just generally speaking, what people should be, how they should be thinking about their business and their future.
Yeah, I think you definitely have touched on the one biggest thing is always be ready to change. Make change your friend, not your enemy. Be willing, be open to it. It's always good to have a mentor, someone you can reach out to and really, talk about the market. One thing good for us, we have the CG group, which is a group of investors across the country that we can reach out to and talk about trends. What's everybody else experiencing in their home markets? And it gives you a lot of good ideas. Something, a good mentor like yourself that you can reach out to and say, hey, what are, you have your finger on the pulse. What's going on across the country? Because right now, this is what's happening in my market. It's not working any longer. For us, we're big, auction guys. We go to the auction house every morning. We buy properties, we own them, and we had to evolve into, doing mailers, doing our own marketing for these properties. And so you always have to be ready to change. I think that's the one biggest, key. The second key is just analyze the property with reason. Don't be unreasonable. Don't, always think about worst case scenario and multiple exit strategies to get out of this property.
Yep, that's great.
You can't always be pie in the sky. You have to be optimistic. As an investor, we're always optimistic, and we always think we're going to sell for top dollar. But what if we don't?
Right.
What if the market takes a 10% decrease? What if it costs us 10% more to finish the property? Will I still make money? And will I still be able to get out of this property without hurting myself or my investors?
Right. Awesome. Hey, Mike, thanks so much for joining us today. Definitely appreciate your time and allowing us to kind of learn from your lessons, and you're doing great stuff out there.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Are you a member of FlipNerd.com, the most robust real estate investing platform in existence, where you can find off-market wholesale deals and great vendors literally in your market? You can get access to advice from experts and learn about local clubs and events right in your backyard. If not, please visit FlipNerd.com and register for a free account. You can register in less than a minute. It's pretty much the coolest site that's ever existed in the real estate investing industry, so get on over to FlipNerd.com.